everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Ctrl Alt Refuel. We got the band back together. There were some creative differences. Chris has turned up with some chocolate, so that's going to distract me a lot. I'm a fiend for chocolate. I'm going to start recording now so I can take all this to my psychiatrist. I can say,
black.
Yeah, look what these people are like.
How's it doing on the audio channels? Is there any way of looking at those? Is it only Simon that listens to them?
Quick.
I think we're higher up with Joe Rogan podcast now, aren't we?
Oh, easy, yeah. We'll get Musk on, call him a knob.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
What have I got? I've got something to share that Paul will get all weird about.
I've got nothing. Go on. What have you got? Oh yes, I saw this. Where did this come from?
This is in the service book pack for Shitty the Leaf, that £200 Leaf I bought. In the boot, in all that detritus inside the car. In the back was
that's the cable bag.
Inside here, looks like never been opened. Is all the manual.
God, it's still sealed.
It's all virginal.
Wow.
Yeah, this tax disc hold has never been taken out.
I've never seen that. I think that's a dealer edition rather than a manufacturer edition. I've never seen that before.
Well, don't open it. It might be like the James Bond Octopussy car toy, where it's like if you open it out the box, you lose 75% of its value.
£200 Leaf. But most interestingly was the actually virginal service book. Yeah. I think I'm the first person to open these pages.
Is there any stamps in it?
No, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's just
it's
never been serviced. The guy said it's never been serviced.
It's never been serviced.
No, it's hasn't even had the PDI one done.
So why is it £200?
Well, I was the highest bid.
Was it an auction?
Yeah.
God, I bet the owner was gutted at £200.
He was so gutted that he just left the key on the wheel. He wasn't even there.
He just stormed off.
And I hadn't even paid for it, so we just took it, and then I paid for it later. Yeah.
I'll just make the point that I didn't steer the conversation to Nissan, Gareth.
Yeah, just Chris was showing off his chocolate, and I had to find something more cool than that.
I've got nothing that I can show you that's appropriate. So
he's not wearing any pants.
However, Nissan aren't going to feature in the list of manufacturers that we're going to talk about now, because there have been over the last year a number of manufacturers who started off all being very keen about having EVs in their portfolio, and they have been pivoting away from EVs, writing off investments, and returning to, at best, hybrid production. And some of them are even saying, they see the future in diesel, which is a bit strange. In response to slower than expected EV adoption policy changes under the Trump administration, including reduced subsidies and relaxed emissions regulations, rising competition from Chinese manufacturers, and shifting consumer preferences towards hybrids and gasoline vehicles, major automakers are scaling back EV investments. And this has led to significant write-offs and losses totaling $55 billion globally, with the US big three, Stellantis, Ford and GM, accounting for $52 billion, so the vast majority of that. So this is very much an American disease.
Is Stellantis American?
No, technically Stellantis is French. But
this is more, in America, it's more Ford, wasn't it? Ford have also announced this pullback, but we'll talk about that. It's not quite as it appears. But yes, Stellantis, make crap EVs and then moan that nobody wants them.
So Stellantis have announced $26.5 billion US charges in the second half of last year to reset its EV strategy. We can talk about all of these manufacturers as a whole because they're all doing the same thing. And it occurs to me, they know what they're doing is ultimately bad for their business, because they're handing over their equity and their trade and their customer base to the Chinese. And it's just extraordinary that someone who's relatively competent at running a large company would do this. Presumably they don't see it that way.
Chris is eating, so shall I take this? Spike's going to be upset 2 episodes in a row, Chris.
look,
Hi, Spike.
I've just come back from the gym. I'm starving.
He hasn't watched the James G one yet, so don't worry. What do I think? Well, yeah, I mean, all those companies that you read out, they've all made, shall we say, to be polite to them, subpar EVs. And surprisingly, people haven't bought those. Instead, they've gone on and they've bought EVs that are good to very good to excellent from other manufacturers that are not on that list.
Korean and Chinese mostly.
Yeah, so Stellantis are, obviously death throes, and they're thinking, well, how can we milk some money and keep the workforce? So what they're doing is they're talking about chucking petrol and diesel engines in their existing lineup, aren't they? It's not any new models from what I can garner. Ford's slightly different. I think it was very reluctant by them, but the Americans just, they just weren't buying the product that they were making, were they, in enough numbers, and they've switched to EREVs, haven't they?
I mean, I'm not sure that your accusation of making poor EVs really applies to Ford, and I'm going to say to the upcoming range of Mercedes cars, they're supposed to be extremely good. So it's a bit strange that Mercedes are walking away from this. But the Ford,
have you seen inside the Mercedes there? They're just like a
but they're always hot.
Food wire, isn't it? Just gaudy sort of big purpley flashing lights.
Yes,
and
but they've been like that for 15 years. Yeah.
And they've not been reliable. These, on the whole, these Mercedes EVs, and not in the same way that other manufacturers have been reliable. Ford, I mean, the Mach-E was a decent enough car, but it was a pig to, as far as charging speeds were concerned, especially the standard range version. It would, about 60 kilowatts. That was its peak. My brother-in-law's one. That's what he was getting out of it. And the Ford Puma, it's just an all right town car. It's a compliance EV. It's not a good car. It's all right, but it's not. It's not good.
The Capri and the Explorer,
but they're Volkswagen, aren't they?
Well,
it's a Volkswagen ID4 in a dress.
Yeah, but
they looks all right. If you're talking about how they look, yeah, the Puma looks all right. The Mach-E looks great. But yeah, so I'm on the Puma owners group. I mentioned it before, and the number of dumb questions and disappointed people on that forum because they bought this car as their first EV.
It's
not doing the job.
But these are inexperienced users.
It is, but it's not the good. If they bought a Kia e-Niro or a Hyundai Kona, you wouldn't have any of these questions or concerns. And this is a car from 2009.
What makes you say that?
Because they're much better. They're much more efficient. They're much more reliable. They do that. My e-Niro would do 300 miles in 2021.
You can't go off forums and Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff for truth, because I mean, Paul's admin of one. I used to be an admin of a Genesis GV601, and I know this to be a brilliant car. But you go on with Genesis GV601, you think it's the biggest pile of dog turd you've ever seen in your life, because people just like moaning.
It's a microcosm, isn't it? It always tells the story of problems that people have got, isn't it? Like you say, it's not, people. You're not going to go on there and say, "Oh, my Genesis was great this week, no problems," are you?
So you're suggesting, and I think with good reason, that part of the problems that these particular manufacturers that we're talking about is that they're making bad EVs that nobody is wanting to buy. That's part of the issue. There's a leadership issue in the large companies that are consistently making poor decisions, poor strategic decisions about where they're going to take their company. I mean, yes, okay, so Stellantis, they're always going to struggle because they're a collection of decidedly average brands.
Well, they are in name only, though, aren't they, Paul? That's what I'm saying. The Stellantis, all their EVs are on a multi-fuel platform. They don't make a ground-up architecture EV. The Ford Puma I'm bitching about, it's a multi-fuel platform. It's an ICE car that they've chucked EV bits at. It's a bit of a compliance effort. It's selling really well, but people are buying this thinking it can do more than it can. That's my point.
Well, I don't think Stellantis can afford it. I don't.
One brand should have been their EV brand, shouldn't it? Whether it was Alpha or whatever. That's it's easy to say in hindsight, but build a solid ground up architecture EV, slap an Alpha or a Fiat badge on it, whatever you want to do, and then see how that brand does. But all they've done. The Alfa Romeo Junior thing. I mean, Jesus, come on. I mean, just look at the thing.
There's
Just feel sorry for it.
we should give a nod to noisily checks his notes. People like Rivian and Lucid in the US who seem to be making quite competent EVs. Do we think that Rivian and Lucid are going to take the place of some of the other brands, maybe in the Stellantis stable? I've always maintained that I expect Stellantis are going to cut a brand or two anyway. Probably not the French ones because it's a French company.
No, I think it's good. I'm happy. They've gone back to petrol, not diesel. I don't think diesel belongs in a domestic car anymore. I just don't. I think the generation of diesel, like in Hyundai's, my Santa Fe is the last generation of diesel. We've not made the diesel domestic car in a very long time. But I think plug-in hybrids, self-charging hybrids, and they should be a thing. But I think they should always be a thing, just to give people choice.
Self-charging hybrid.
There is. If you don't have to use an external force to charge that battery, then
You have to put
petrol engine
petrol in
is
the
charging.
bloody thing for it to
Yeah,
charge
but it
it for
charges
you.
its own car. You don't have to use an external cable. Anyway, we've had this conversation before. I'm well on board with that saying. But it's Stellantis Group do not make good EVs. You know, Chinese are starting to be really good. The South Koreans are being really good. Teslas are really good. But there's a lot of companies out there that just don't make them good at all. You need reliable cars. Forget powertrain. You need cars where what it says on the computer, it'll do. Then it'll do it. Not, you put your foot down so it doesn't work. You know, you've lost 25 miles, so you can't guess where you're going. Not everybody has a driveway. Not everybody wants to go to the local town to charge it. Not everybody wants change. Your local 82-year-old doesn't want to take on new technology now. And also, for that, there's also people who are passionate about 90s cars, 80s cars. You know, you go to these car meets, but even young people are like, well, I'm not interested in EVs. Everyone deserves a choice on what they want. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that in the future, it will be an even balance of EVs and hybrids. I don't think diesel has a place. I don't think petrol by itself has a place unless it's a classic car. But I'm not against these people going back to petrol or liquid fuel cars because they make crap EVs. So do what you do well and do it, because the external design on Peugeots and things like that are good. They look beautiful, but the EVs are crap.
Yes. Are you saying then that Stellantis, Ford, GM, Mercedes, Volkswagen are scaling back their EV production and basically burning a lot of money in doing that because they're pro-choice, or because they think that's how to best win the upcoming battle with Chinese manufacturers?
Personally, I don't understand what the Germans are doing, because they make good EVs as well. I believe. I've never driven a German EV, but I believe they make good ones. But they are heavy in the American market. They're heavy in the Australian market. Holden is basically a fancy Vauxhall. They're massive in Australia. I think that they're doing things also in corporate countries where there isn't a massive EV uptake. Europe and the UK, we're all about EVs. We love it. They're getting better and better and better. Our infrastructure is getting better and better. Where now we're just a normal car. I don't get the diesel thing. I just don't get that. When you can have the same fuel efficiency in a hybrid as you would a diesel. I just don't get it. And petrol is just as usable and as it always has been. So I don't get the diesel thing. But the catering for other countries what don't have the support of what Europe and Scandinavia has of EVs. We love them. Other countries don't.
Gareth, you got anything? Because there's one, because I want to move on slightly within the subject.
I can talk, if you like, about used cars, perhaps, which is a good segue into what point Chris is saying, hybrids, they're a complete nightmare. When they go wrong, they're really hard, almost impossible to fix. Half the time, especially plug-in hybrids, they don't really get used on the battery. They just get filled up with fuel all the time. German cars, yeah, the new Neue class stuff we talked about before, didn't we? That's looking really good. 800-volt architecture, cracking things. Still not completely sure about the design language, but again, I don't think I'm the target audience for. I sort of understand where Chris is coming from. Yeah, I mean, but why would you go out and buy a Fiat 500 diesel now, in 2027 or 2028 when they're talking about it?
Diesel.
Just makes no sense. I mean, why would you buy a petrol one as well? So-called mild hybrid. I wouldn't. Just buy the much better EV version. But yeah, they've already scaled back on the targets, haven't they? So we will see much more fossil fuels cars than we thought we might have done.
I was reading a report from, it might be the IMF, might not. A research group had looked into the finances, and as we say, there was around 60 to 70 billion US dollars is the amount of money that's going to be effectively written off these balance sheets.
It's not just because they've made shit EVs, is it? It's because they've made crap other cars as well. These are multi-fuel platform cars that haven't been selling, but it's all getting packaged up and blamed on EVs. Well, like your kids, Chris, does one of them get the other one in trouble, or pretend that he's done something when it was the other one? This is what Stellantis is doing. They're putting it all on the blame of EVs. I mean, it's
almost like you've just rewound my evening by about 4 hours.
He did. I didn't.
Oh, honestly, my eldest built this amazing castle out of Lego and magnetic blocks, and then my youngest came in and just fucking booted it all over. So you've just gone back about 4 hours. So yeah, we do like to wind each other up and then blame each other.
Yeah, call one Stellantis and the other.
Yeah, I do. I'll say, Alex, you're now called Stellantis.
So there's about 70 US billion that has disappeared, the balance sheet of some of these companies. But it turns out that about 3/4 of this money that's disappeared has been written. It's not disappeared. It's been written off. It's Chinese money, and so
everything's Chinese money, isn't it? I mean, they need people with money, aren't they? But it means they've lost some money here, but they've still made a crap ton of money here elsewhere. So from an investment point of view, it's
very basic. The Chinese financial institutions have lent Stellantis and Ford and GM and Mercedes a lot of money, and now these 4 car manufacturers have said, right, it's gone and you're not going to get it back. And the Chinese financial institutions have gone, well, okay, it's a write-off. That's what write-off is. On the one hand, I make the point that these strategic decisions made in the boardrooms of these car manufacturers are playing into the hands of the Chinese car manufacturers. However, they've dealt quite a significant financial blow to the Chinese financial infrastructure.
Yeah, I think they make it elsewhere, don't they? And then it's a way in for them, isn't it? They're already talking about Chinese factories opening up in America, even under the orange one. That was in the news this week, wasn't it?
I mean, don't feel sad for these Chinese financial
Yeah, they got some
institutions.
money, yeah. But let's go back to Stellantis. I mean, what choice did they have? I mean, what could they do instead? They can spin off some of the brands, so Citroen, Peugeot.
Well, that was part of my original question, was to try and get us to put ourselves in the mind of these people in the boardrooms of these companies and say, would we do the same thing that they have?
Yeah, like I said, I would spin one brand off to just be EV, even if it means slapping your badge
Stellantis
on.
Specifically.
Yeah, it's all about Stellantis. Spin one brand off, whether it's Citroen or whatever. And then like Toyota and other people are doing, and Honda have done, they'll be slapping their badges on the Chinese car. A good Chinese car.
Gareth and Chris, thank you for your time. We have comprehensively avoided the question of car manufacturers pivoting away from
EVs,
nothing, writing off their investment. Guys, thanks for your time. Thanks for your opinions. Thanks for your thoughts. Everybody else, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe wherever you see our videos. we will leave a comment under any of the videos. You can email us at ctrlaltrefuel@gmail.com, and you can DM us on the various platforms that we're on. The audio versions will be out very soon after you see this on YouTube.
It's longer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only for Simon.
Only for Simon. Yeah. So thank you.
Don't cut him out this time, you bastard. I've mentioned him 3 times and you've cut him out every time.
Well, you've only just mentioned him just now.
Every episode I mention he doesn't make the edit.
In the closing bits,
he's getting all concerned.
So what you've done is
your outro's becoming. Have you ever watched Game of Thrones?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. So your outro. So you'll get this, Paul. Your outros are getting longer and longer. You're like bloody Daenerys, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains. You know, all these.
He needs a script. He needs a script for that bit, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Help with the dementia.
I have a script. I just don't have it in
when he went
front
to
of
China
me.
and didn't tell anybody. So anyway, the at EV engineer. Hi.
Yes, yeah.
I've got to do it again because you've shouted.
No, you don't. He works for Genie Point anyway. It's fine. Come on.
Genie Point, isn't it?
Simon, thanks for your time, mate. Goodbye, everyone. Come back and see us next time soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains.
Naked women, is that right?